Over the last few years, nearly 200 venues across Sydney have shut down. Iconic smaller venues like World Bar closed their doors thanks to lockout laws and various other changes in government legislation. This has also seen a decline in attendance to live music, festival shutdowns, and the loss of jobs for various kinds of artists, hospitality staff, as well as event and venue managers. With all these changes, people are beginning to believe that Sydney is closed and live music is dead. To the point where even renowned international artists are questioning what's happening in New South Wales. However, for those involved in the live music scene and culture, they continue to push forward using their passion and drive to deal with and adapt to the changes. Somehow, in amongst all of this, other venues such as the Lansdowne, which is full of live music history, have managed to reopen. While other venues like Crowbar have found a place in Sydney, various other small and medium venues are host to large crowds where musicians of all kinds, venue managers and fans continue to go to play and enjoy live music.
I had my very first club gig at this club called White Rabbit in King's Cross, which isn't there anymore, unfortunately.
Well, there's been a lot of laws that have been introduced, seemingly specifically to take venues out.
The situation is so dire with all these venues disappearing.
There were so many venues that I used to play at, but all of these places were gone now.
It's sad that I have a lot of friends who are going to lose work and can't feed their families and stuff. And lockouts was, of course, terrible.
In like the first year or two of when I started DJing and playing in Sydney quite often, none of those venues even exist anymore. So it's kind of unfortunate when you build a network with all these people and suddenly that kind of just goes to waste now. You got to start again. It was, yes, booming at one point. Things just shut down by 9 and the fun's over.
Yeah, things are changing a lot. To be honest, I personally am kind of excited about it, but the music itself is actually, the culture behind it is actually growing from my perspective.
But thankfully, Rising from the Ashes was this great new scene of music.
I started a band with my brother, playing music pretty much our whole lives, being brought up in a musical family.
I think after jamming, you're just young and you're like, all right, let's just see if there's anywhere they'll let us play. And luckily we had a venue close to us who maybe shouldn't have let us play.
I wanted to start playing live mainly because of the kinds of bands that I was watching. I used to go to a lot of local shows.
I think the passion for music became much greater when I became a producer, when I started creating my own music.
I don't think Sydney's gig image has been hurt so much that other outside town bands don't want to play here.
I kind of wanted to make the DJ shows as elaborate as possible, bring in dancers and make it really exciting and powerful, not just a DJ set. It encompassed so much more than that, and I had a lot more depth and meaning to it.
I guess there's just always been that sort of passion for it and desire to play. So once we got an actual band happening, it was sort of, stuff just kept happening, kept pushing for it because it's fun.
I think the energy from those kind of gigs, especially because they were really intimate, just made me want to have that kind of experience for myself.
I think once that came into play, that was the passion that really stuck on.
Everybody wants to make sure that everyone feels included these days.
I just kind of woke up one day and realized I was in a bunch of bands and all my friends were musicians and I was just kind of doing it. I just kind of finished high school and I found myself surrounded by these amazing musicians and I was like, maybe there's something in this.
It's never really been about, where I can't play. It's just as long as there's a venue that'll have us.
That's been the main difference, is the bands have really taken it on themselves.
A gig that happens, regardless of what venue, regardless of what bands are happening, I think that the importance of a gig should be better understood by the general public. People don't see a gig as this amazing thing. They're just like, oh, you've got a gig, yeah, cool.
Oh, I think the government really needs to take some great accountability here.
I guess in a weird way, it kind of made us work harder.
We're in a good spot to rebuild the Sydney industry into something better than it was.
you have to go with the change, and if you don't, then you just get left behind.
It made me go out to more gigs as a punter, just to see other bands and to support the scene, you know? I feel like when I'm not doing a gig, I should be out watching a gig.
But in a bizarre way, I guess when you have a massive, without trying to sound like a hyperbole, like tragedy, it brings everyone closer together.
Yeah, I want people to view a live show involving multiple bands. I want them to see that as a major spectacle.
I'd like to see younger kids getting back into this kind of music, whether it's, you know, an updated version or whatever it is. You know, kids are always going to change things whether we like it or not.
I think the only way you can keep going is if you actually do have a passion for music. Or if you don't have that passion, then you won't have the drive to keep going.
If you really love playing your music and you really enjoy what you're doing with it, it's your art. You're the one who's creating it. You're the one who gets to choose how it goes.
I think you guys are the same, but music's all I've ever really known.
Honestly, it's the music. Yeah, the love of the music, I think, is what keeps it all going.
Nothing else in the world gives me what music has given me.
So I think the passion for music will like never die.